I honestly think it's like just a nice little escape from like everything that we all have to do day to day. Like instead of worrying about going to work, making sure we have money for bills, and like all the responsibilities that we have, we could just go and be different people instead of just being ourselves in a sense. Like it helps us with our creativity, and it's fun just to bond together too, because we have a lot of really fun, good times whenever we film stuff. And I know both Dawson and Trace have the strongest bond ever because of how many like trials they've had to go through with like, okay, this doesn't work, so we're gonna have to change it to this way, or people coming or not coming, and just trying to figure out all these different types of ways in order to make it work well. And that definitely does make people grow closer together, going through problems and everything. I just like it because it's actually the light is flickering really bad. It's just a super cool thing to do instead of just having to worry about being an adult all the time. Because it's nice to just create all kinds of different things and just see where your mind kind of goes with stories and stuff like that. Granted, I don't really make any stories or anything. I'm just kind of around for them, and I appreciate all of them because they're all super duper cool. And it's really cool how we can end up using like the same areas and stuff, or like the same 3 people, and just make these insane stories. Like my favorite one honestly was the murder mystery one, because we stayed in the same room for the majority of that, but it was such a long, good film, all because of a game that we really liked. And I really hope that we're actually able to find more of those games. Who knows? But yeah, that whether news happens or not means to have a creative little safe space for me. So, Melody was quite interesting in Come Home. Mainly because that was the first actual time I was in the film besides being behind the scenes, because I was helping out just a very, very tiny bit with it was the Assassin's Creed one, I'm pretty sure. I'm getting a nod, so that was correct. Mm-hmm. And it definitely was like a good little test because it went from hot, sunshiny to pouring rain in the matter of like, what, an hour? So, like, you get all ready for the film and then all of a sudden it just goes. And we just kind of worked with it. I mean, I was like, okay, cool. I didn't know that they would like either continue on or just wait until it stopped raining or anything like that. And it was really interesting having to kind of learn what kind of character I was having to play, like on the spot, or if not, moments before I was even there. And I got to bond with Trace quite quickly because I was having to lightly bully him behind the scenes, but on camera itself, I was actually bullying him slightly because of his character basically being an idiot, not really knowing much. But it was a good beginner character. I mean, I didn't say much. I added a little bit to the film, but it was a little side character that was nice to start with. Jasmine Malone. That was the first character I actually played a love interest for, or like first film I played a love interest for. Let me reword that. And fun fact, that was also right after Dawson and I started dating too, which was quite funny. I really, really liked that film. It was really good. It was very easy and nice to kind of film, or on my end at least. I was the like emotional, like, oh, you better come back type of character basically, because I give him a necklace and everything, so he had something while he was gone. And it was just really cool to kind of interpret real life into the film a little bit, because like I said, like we just got together and it was like all fresh and new, and we were just trying to figure everything out with like films and stuff like that too at the same time. But yeah, it was It was really cool. I liked it. I liked the whole concept of it and everything. Again, it was also super fun to film, and it ended up being one of the first ones where it was just us three, instead of having to try and get anybody else into the film that we were kind of wanting to have. But we were also running around town and in the midst of filming it as well. I know at one point behind the scenes, as we were trying to go to another location, Dawson was like, "Hey, does everybody have their seatbelts on?" And we said no, because Dawson was the only one who didn't have his seatbelt on. And that was just quite funny. And we just kind of played off of that kind of like little goofy little mood the entire time. And it was really fun and lighthearted to actually play in that film the whole time. So, Millie Mitchell in the Judge Dredd film. I think it was like the day of, if not the day before, Dawson actually put on the movie that inspired it, the Judge Dredd film. I'm pretty sure it was like the day before. That was an interesting one because I was a damsel in distress, and that's fine. That's cool. It was just how certain things were going. We'll leave it at that. But I did almost actually kick both Trace and Ian and hit both of them. And that was actually kind of funny. We had to do it a bunch of times, mainly because every time I'd look at Trace, him and I would be like, okay, we can't laugh. We need to stop laughing. And it would just keep happening, because we cut it, or Trace and Dawson cut it just right to where you would miss the laugh that was fixing to happen each time. So that was like another one, a newer experience, because we had another new person for me in it. And just like the kind of the whole idea of it and all. And I think that was the first time I came to your house too. Or came to Trace's house. I want to say it was. But that was actually a really cool one too. And I know sitting there watching Dawson kind of like mess with the helmet a little bit too, to give it a little bit of tweaks, and him actually telling me a lot more information about it was super cool. I actually really like the concept of that film, and I honestly wish that we could do another one that has Judge Dredd in it. And we may or may not, depending. But yeah, it was just super cool. Lola Foster in the woods was the most awkward thing to film, because it was us three just kind of standing there in the woods, and I was walking around with a camera, trying to improvise what I would say and kind of make it look like I've been vlogging for all of this time and showing nature and stuff like that. Yeah, that was a very interesting part for it, because I was just trying to figure out what to say and how it would all work. And then, of course, we adventured far, far from being in a house or somewhere in town or anything like that. We were smack dab in the middle of the woods near a waterfall at one point. And I think that was the one I actually got roughed up in, and the only one, if I'm not mistaken, because Trace did have to drag me many, many times. And he was like, "It felt like nothing dragging you." And I was like, well, it felt like everything to me, because I was hitting every root and rock that, like, a good 4 or 5 different times. I will say I'm very thankful for the hiking bag, though, because that did protect a good bit of me. But I do know once we moved to a different location for the fight scene with Bigfoot, if you haven't seen it. It is also our most viewed video, if I'm not mistaken. Besides, If Google Was a Guy. That was a very, very old one. But, yeah, that was definitely an interesting one. And again, it was super fun, because in the midst of us filming it, we actually do have a local Bigfoot museum, and we did actually go to that and look at all the Bigfoot stuff. I think it was either right before we were filming it, or like in the midst of it, like as we were going to another location for it, which was super cool. And I actually do want to go back over there again and kind of like read stuff and everything. And I know we were still meaning to talk to them about possibly showing our short film in their museum, because they do show a lot of like documentary videos and everything, and we think it would just be cool to add like a more creative aspect of it, of like people trying to find Bigfoot. So Yeah. Good old Kim from, it was like the Inquisitor film. I was a senator. That was not as cold as I was honestly expecting it to be outside because of the whole fur thing I was wearing. But I will say it felt like it took forever to film. One, because I could never figure out my own name and my own planet. And two, Gabe would not stop laughing and looking at the camera and smiling or saying a comment or just being a child, more or less. That one was honestly super fun to film. I just didn't like the whole nighttime fight scene, mainly because it was very cold and I was the one filming that. But that scene in itself is super duper cool. I love that one. I love all the like Star Wars fight scenes that we have. But there wasn't much to that character at all besides running and being afraid and shooting a blaster in the wrong direction and almost busting my butt on a whole bunch of leaves. And then I think shortly after they made a comment of me almost falling. I think Trace ended up going up there at one point and almost falling, and then Gabe did fall. If I'm not mistaken, didn't we have to film all of the night scenes at a different time? That was very hard to film in a sense, mainly because one, it was dark, two, we don't have a lot of lighting, so we were trying to find any little lights that we could. I'm pretty sure I was wearing a light on my head at one point, if I'm not mistaken. And then we had our little, it's kind of like a golf cart, but it's more for like carrying wood and such, the gator in the background and the little reflector thing, so it just kept popping up every so often, and if you look closely, it's still in one of the scenes. And we were just having a hard time with a couple of things for that, but it was super duper cool to film, and I really like how it came out, and I know the guys definitely did enjoy filming that in the end. Yeah. Alright, now we got Alexis Watson. Trace's little sister. Trace's character's little sister. I goofed up the entire plan. I said the wrong story, and then he got real mad at me about it and everything, and then blah 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 blah. Robin comes and beats me up. Insinuated to be, at least. That one was really fun. We did do a couple of new things in that one, if I remember correctly, of like how we were filming it. Because what we were doing is we were constantly like kind of circling and going back and forth on two different angles and truly seeing, like in the interrogation room, how Dick Grayson's character was reacting to the information versus whoever he was interrogating. So either my character or Trace's character, and you were seeing more of different angles of how their body language was truly kind of telling on them, more or less. It was just super interesting how we did all of that, and I actually really liked it, and I think that was one of the first times that I think all three of us filmed in your basement, if I remember correctly too. I do know we had a very interesting time once we got to the park because some guy decided to be walking around there at like 9:30, 10 o'clock at night watching us as if we were doing something wrong. But to be fair, Dawson was wearing a whole cape, had blacked out eyes, and like the whole 9 yards of a vigilante, more or less. And then also proceeding to beat the tar out of Trace's character as well, with fake blood and everything. And from somebody who's just kind of watching from like a standby perspective, yeah, I would have been kind of staring too, but why was he there at like 9:30, 10 o'clock at night? That's my question. Yeah, I really liked the whole concept of that, and I wish we could do something similar to that again. And bring Dick Grayson back for another screaming match across a table. Yeah, I really liked that one. I really liked just like the simplicity of it, because it wasn't too much in it, but it was a really, really good film for what it was worth. Yeah, that's all I gotta say for that one. Now we have Emily Webb. Yes. Okay. The brains of the entire murder mystery film. Mainly because I really, really liked the game. And I remembered most, if not all of the details about it. And I was just spewing all of the information to Trace as we were filming it. And there was a lot of information that was being spewed. I really, really liked that one because it wasn't necessarily scripted. It was just merely going off of knowledge. And I really liked how all of that worked out because I knew a lot about the game and I felt quite confident with it, and I actually really enjoyed it. And I enjoyed like the little funny bits of it and how it was filmed kind of like The Office or like a reality TV show type of ordeal. It was quite raw and unscripted. It was actually super duper fun to film. That Emily is possibly my favorite character, if not one of the ones that I will talk about later. Yeah, Dawson's character helped put like the bigger pieces together, which was kind of how it was in the actual like reality of him and I playing that game, and then telling Trace, hey, we should just base a film off of this because it's super cool. Yeah, it was, you saw a lot of our like own personalities through that film as well too, instead of just seeing, okay, they're playing characters or something like that. No, that was majority of like our own true personalities of it and everything. I definitely did enjoy that one, and I really hope we're actually able to find another one of those games to where it was actually good, because Dawson and I did end up buying another one of those, but it was really, really stupid. I don't want to say like what it was about, because if somebody wants to buy it, I'm not going to spoil it, but it was dumb, more or less, and we were definitely not making a film about that, because it was just slightly inappropriate too. But yeah, that one was super fun. I like that one the most. So now we got the drop zone. My character is almost completely pointless, but was just there. More or less, it was all Trace and Dawson. Again, a super duper cool concept of like when a person dies and a new one comes in and like the reasoning for it. And I don't really remember what exactly sparked the drop zone. There's been like a couple of movies. Trace is pointing at himself. There's a couple of movies that definitely would have like encouraged that, but we made our own thing about it, obviously, because, you know, copyright reasons, and we're not gonna completely rip off something. I mean, they have in the past, but again, it was a super cool concept. I really liked the kind of eeriness of everybody's trying to figure out what's going on, as well as the viewer as well. Everybody was trying to figure out everything at the same time. And I really like that because it definitely involves the viewer more, and I feel like that keeps them intrigued a lot more. Yeah, my character was basically pointless. I was just kind of there, but there might be more. Alright, we got Sarah from Who Took Sarah, the kind of main person, but also not the main person. The film in itself, awesome, cool. We added a new little bit to Trace's area of where the way Trace decided was like, you know what, that looks like somewhere where somebody could put a person that they've kidnapped. Okay, so that's where I went. I really liked it. Again, we used new locations for that. I think they were new parts of those locations. It was basically more or less of like a one-man film, because the majority of it was Dawson's character, and then there was like snippets of all the other people. We had Ian make a comeback. Again, we had Jill, who has never been in a film before, and same thing with Alyssa. The behind the scenes were very interesting for that as well, especially the whole onion thing, which was really out of nowhere, because Jill and Alyssa got put in a room by themselves for a little too long, and then they ended up fighting an onion. I don't know how that came about, but it was nice to have more females in it. instead of just being like the only female. It was just, like I said, it was nice to have other females around. Now we have Russell's girlfriend. Literally, that's my name, because we were gonna add a little bit more to my character, but since one, we were filming in a very public place, and two, there was an older couple that was sitting in their car watching us across from another parking lot, wondering what in the world was going on. Because Dawson's character, Russell, gets hit by a car, and if you see, just being a bystander, walking by, or being near, hearing a woman screaming, like leaning over somebody who looks like who's been hit by a car, but there was no car to be found, I would also be like, what in the world is going on, and try to make a phone call, because that's very concerning. But we ended up deciding that I'm just gonna walk with him and go in the car, and that would really be it. I filmed a good chunk of that. That was the first time we filmed in Trace's grandmother's basement. And it was such a really cool concept with it, because it definitely showed more of the diversity of Dawson's acting of it, because he was talking to himself. He was having a full-blown conversation with himself by himself, of trying to talk himself out of being in the room, more or less. But again, that was another really easy film. It was just quite time-consuming because of all of the different types of filming we were trying to do with different angles and such. Yeah, there is really nothing else to that one. It was really interesting, and I think that was my favorite acting on Dawson's part in that film. Okay, now we've got the bartender and possibly the Mandalorian guy's possible lover, but also possibly not lover. We may never know. Yeah, I was the owner of the bar. I liked it because it was like Mandalorian stuff, and it was just kind of cool just to be a little bartender, because I sat there and cleaned all the bottles and stuff and made the concoctions and everything, and it was quite funny watching everybody taste all of it, because it was actually just Gatorade. It was like 2 different types of Gatorade. I think it was a green apple and just a blue Gatorade. I think that was really it. But we had more cool props with it. I do know we almost got really, really sick, all of us, because of the sheets that we had hanging up were covered in mold. And you could smell it, because those were actually the same things that we used for the Indiana Jones film that I also just filmed in. And I don't think I was a part of that at all. Yeah, it was really cool, and Dawson finally get to showcase his Jasper that he's had forever, and I'm so thankful that he was actually able to showcase it and be a Mandalorian, because that's like one of his favorite things. He has a lot of favorite characters, but I liked that one. That was super cool, and also Trace looking like basically like a Spy Kids villain. That was interesting, and poor Preston, just trying his best, man. He could not stop laughing the entire time. I think he almost did hit himself in the head with the rock too when he was trying to throw it at Dawson's character too. Yeah, and besides the fact that at one point when Dawson's family was coming home and Gabe was shooting the window with a suction cup thing. I don't know if you were able to actually hear that in the background. I don't think you can. But yeah, I really liked that film. That one was super cool. Yeah, I hope we can bring my character back, because that was actually quite a cool character to actually do, even though it was a super simple, easy one. Final one, we got Julianna Moran. That was my main character, who we now have deemed the Twilight fan, since I am wearing a Edward shirt in it, because why not? I decided to show that shirt off. That one definitely showed a good bit of me, obviously. That one was interesting on myself to play and actually do, because I had to put myself kind of in a dark mindset for it and make myself cry and everything, and then also be okay at the same time. And I also, the instinct of, okay, how can I actually get out of this in a real aspect, had to be forgotten about, because she had to struggle and go in the wrong areas to get spooked even more and more. Yeah, that was interesting. I had to change like 3 different times in the same 2 clothes. I know that. But again, my favorite characters were Dawson and Trace's characters. Even though I tried so hard to put the camera to where the wind wasn't really being heard a lot, and you can still hear it quite a good bit. Yeah, that one, again, was a more serious film. We've been doing a lot of serious films this year, that's for sure. I'm assuming it's still like a hit or miss of if people actually like them or not, or if y'all like them or not. I'm getting a shoulder shrug. But yeah, it's just super cool to, again, do another different type of film and have somebody else be the lead. So, well, that's all of my characters in the last 2 years, I want to say. I wasn't around for the last filming of all of this, so this is the first time I've done all this. I'm really interested to see what we'll be coming up with for next year. I know we have so many ideas that they have had since they've started the channel, what they have come up with since I've been around. All I know is that we're definitely just going to continuously keep improving and going up and just having a good time with it, whether it's just only us 3 or we add like hopefully another permanent person. If not, that's okay, I guess, but definitely would like more people to be involved with it because it makes it more fun, and we like to have a good time with filming and everything, and we have plenty of characters that are also absolutely awesome and stunning and just great that they could easily play. Yeah, I'm excited to see what we have going on. I did not expect to be as involved as I am now. It's super exciting that I'm actually involved with it because I've always enjoyed the whole acting aspect, the whole making something from a cosplay to like a script to learning how to do different shots for cameras and everything, because I've never really worked with a camera before until I became friends with them. I don't really have any characters in mind of like who would I want to play again. I have film ideas that I would love to do again or kind of add to. But yeah, I hope to be more involved in different ways because now I have this trusty dusty iPad and possibly be able to create some things for the films, like some kind of editing of some sort, special effects, whatever it could be. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I've enjoyed all the 2 years and I'm super excited for many more. If you guys would like to subscribe and turn the notifications on for our YouTube channel, that'll be awesome. Watch some videos, like every single one, comment on every single one, how amazing we are. And I'm Katelynn Marchant, and thank you guys for watching.